again.
Yes. My. So this is quite a unique setting here, and I'm going to tell you why. This is the living evidence for me that the industry is changing. Because first of all, in such kind of event in the past years, you wouldn't have had such a big focus on the importance from medical affairs in an organization. And definitely you wouldn't have been sitting in the same panel, the representatives from both medical and commercial. So it will be an interesting discussion. But before we go there, first a quick round of introductions. Barbara, we start with you.
Yes, I'm Barbara Ortega. I am the medical sales excellence for Reckitt. Reckitt is mainly a consumer company, but with an area that is very heavy on HCP recommendation.
Hi, I'm Robert Sunjic with my Croatian roots. Happy to be here. This is my cluster. I'm responsible in Grünenthal for the DACH area, so happy to be with you here today. And I'm the head of the DACH cluster, so I'm looking from the commercial side as well on my medical team. So we're looking forward for the discussion.
So hi everyone, and thanks for the invite. I'm Pam, and I'm working as a global medical excellence lead, which means that I've been all my careers within the industry as medical in the country, in the region, and now in global. And before that, I was a zoo veterinarian, and I worked in FMCG and also in cleanups. So that's a bit of me.
So Ricardo, thanks Dario, thanks Pharma for inviting to this event. I work for Ferrer. I don't know if anybody rings the bell. Ferrer is a very small company in the pharma industry, born in Barcelona, and I would say very unique. So just for you to get to know the company, we say we are here to generate a positive impact in society. So we don't really end the pharma business. The pharma business is only a mean for that end, and that's why we are giving back to society 40 to 60% of our EBITDA year after year, and I think that makes it a slightly different company. So I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Ferrer, so managing our operations in 20 countries through our direct presence and more than 100 countries through our valued partners around the globe.
Thank you very much. And just a notice for Dario, if I go over time, it's because I cannot see the clock ticking. So just for your information. Okay, so in the past, we would have the discussion about the big divide between sales and marketing. That's beyond us, I hope. So today we are talking a bit more about, first of all, we said medical affairs is important in any kind of pharmaceutical setting, also from a commercial perspective. But having said that, we still see a lot of hurdles between commercial teams and the medical or scientific teams, if I may say it like that. My question is, first of all, what are still these hurdles? And why are they still there? And what do you see as enablers? And maybe I can start from someone from the commercial side. Maybe Barbara, you start, and then we carry on.
You made too many questions, Dirk, but first one. Okay, so I think one of the things that we haven't been able, first of all, I believe that we need to focus on our client, consumer, patient, as a company. And I think we are not there yet because we don't have, as somebody was saying before, a strategy that is aligned through all the company. And that includes medical. Medical affairs will bring a lot of insights for the commercial area to work as better for our client. And that's one. The first one is that we don't have a strategy. And the other one sometimes is the organization, how we are organized in the company. So maybe we need to change the organization, the way who reports to who, to have a better integration. Because sometimes I think that's a problem.
Thank you. Who's next?
I can try. From my perspective, as you said, medical affairs is the foundation and the most important, I would say, part of the company. If we have an aligned strategy, and we heard earlier that the strategy is key from medical to commercial. And the question is, In the past, we built silos between the departments, commercial and medical, for good reasons. But I think we have to learn to talk to each other and to implement a strategy in both areas of the company to build one clear strategy for the product, for the customer experience, and for success. Because without this, I'm sure we can't be successful in launching, but also in maintaining a product.
So Paméla, you've heard a lot of talking about medical affairs.
Yeah, I won't be original for the first point because I think that strategy and alliance strategy is of importance, not creating extra silos like Carlos was saying about the medical strategy, market access. And in Takeda, we have one integrated brand strategy, for instance, which is probably helping. Second thing would be I think the empathy. I don't know how I should name that. So Isham, you'll tell me. Is it empathy, sympathy, compassion, but also understanding all the functions and the ecosystem and how we are all gearing towards the same direction. So this is a component that I see as being foundational. And yeah, the third bucket is compliance. Yeah. We all know that, but yeah, it's one disabler probably.
Yep. Thank you, Ricardo.
Yeah, agreeing with what has been said, let me oversimplify it with the risk it represents. I think there are only two hurdles, but they are very high. One is egos. Organizations are full of people, and people, human beings, have egos, and the higher you go, the higher the egos, oftenly, and this is clearly a hurdle that needs to be overcome. The second one is fear. I love a quote for Danny, medical affairs director at Kirin, saying that we overinterpret compliance. So we used to often lead the flag of an interpretation on what is said, and we call the phantoms of fear. And then the organization is blocked, building, those separations, which is absolutely unneeded. Which are the enablers? That's a tougher question to answer on my perspective. What we are doing at Ferrer, just in case it might help any reflection, we started 3 years ago with a clear strategy. On that strategy is everything devoted to generating positive impact, and very small, tiny at the bottom of the strategy, we said customer experience and 2 focus therapeutic areas. And we spent 1 full year training all the organization, all countries, all functions of the organization. I don't care whether it's R&D, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's BD, I don't care on what the customer means. What does customer means for us? Mm-hmm. So some of the questions, why, who, so that was answered at that point in time. 1 year after, so after a year training the whole organization, making sure that everyone has a common understanding, common vocabulary, so on and so forth, we go through a deep diagnosis of the customer experience with Ferrer, through all the customer journeys in all countries, more than 100 journeys, so on and so forth. And now in our 3rd year, we are making those journeys to be, and therefore changing that experience. And that mechanically, because it's one strategy, and that was said, is a common strategy for the whole organization. Everybody is shifting views, and instead of looking to the inside, and therefore fighting for my power within the organization, I hope views are shifting to the outside, and how we, independently of which role are you having in the organization, might serve your customer better.
So at the end, it's really acting on what we all have in common, which is the patient and the customer, obviously. So putting my ego aside, and also everyone that knows me knows that I'm passionate, I'm not going to use obsessed, by data democratization and data sharing. And everything what I heard here, and both teams often are still sitting or using a separate CRM system. And no sharing, please, because compliance, other kind of true or not so true kind of excuses. So how can we leverage these valuable insights which are coming from, let me say, the medical organization back into the commercial teams to let them really leverage that to strengthen the value proposition at the end of the day, which you bring with your products. So, Pharma, do you want to?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
ladies first.
I think we tend to focus a lot on systems, like you mentioned, the CRM and everything. Well, I would be focusing more on the processes, like setting up processes about, consulting those insights, sharing them in a compliant manner, and also building the right capabilities in order to be able to generate those insights and to communicate them back, and to have the digital capability about, being able to work with AI to spot the patterns and to be able to identify what is making sense and what could be of potential impact on the strategy and tactics. And then thirdly, when you have the process in place, the right capabilities, you can have a system that allows this data sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I would fully agree especially on the data sharing, and I'm seeing this as coming from a big pharma company to a mid-sized company as we are now in Grünenthal. We have much smaller teams working directly together. It's much easier than in the big pharma where we have really still the silos in place. And I was also thinking about AI technology, because the question is, can we translate from one system to the other the results and the knowledge without compliance is still important. So we will stay with it, that's sure, but we have to talk to each other and to create systems. And of course, if it's still a human business, we are talking to each other, and if we can create customer teams, then it's the best way. And that's what I'm seeing in our case, that we are working very closely together between marketing, sales, and medical to building this relationship. And we talked a lot about coaching and building this experience, building teams together without the departments and borders.
Senor Ricardo?
It's lunchtime, so let me be provocative and revert to your question. I think medical insight simply does not exist. And this is the kind of reflections that we as a company do, looking at our internal stuff rather than the customers. It is customer data. I don't care who is capturing it. Those are insights from our customers. So those insights need to be shared to the organization to be actionable. Otherwise, it's bullshit. It's needless.
Yep.
So again, what we are trying to do, and I'm oversimplifying again, so I'm not saying it's easy, but we're trying to capture all this data. The structured data is coming through the CRM, so no competitive advantage in that data. You have the same data that I have, so I don't really care about that data. But all the unstructured data, all the behavioral data, all the data that we are capturing in interactions with our customers is captured in a different setting. Then we merge all this data in what we call the 360 enrich customer view. And all of that goes to our customer data office, where we work on the data with our data scientists to get the actionable insights and the prototypes of the solutions that might bring back to the teams to use the data. Because otherwise, capturing data, and I don't know who this morning, and probably Carlos was saying this morning, I mean, you capture the data, then it comes to headquarters, and someone is with a coffee in his hand, her hand, looking at the data and saying good, bad, but nothing comes out of it.
Yeah. Barbara?
I agree with all of you, but I think we are a step behind in many ways. And the first one is that first we need to bring the data to the same place, as you said. But the other part I see is the commercial teams have a lot of data and they do a lot of analysis, data and analytics, etc. And I feel that, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the medical teams, but I feel they are behind in this part. I don't see, at least where I work, I don't see that they have this KPI, like mindset, or what do we want to measure? How do we make more impact of the things that we already do? How can we be more impactful, and how we measure that? I am not sure that medical affairs have this And I think they need to be upskilled in that sense. I think the commercial part is very far, and then medical affairs it's behind. Because then you bring everything together, and then medical affairs will be part of it, and not just putting the data, but being part of it or understanding the impact, how to be better, how to be more efficient. All of the things that we have in Salesforce effectiveness could be part of medical in a compliant way, of course. I think that's something that we need.
Yes.
I would like to add one point also from our customer perspective. For them, it's also not important is he from medical, me from commercial or market access. We are just a company representing our products or portfolio in front of our customers, and that's why we really have to find ways to connect them. I'm agreeing with you. Maybe we haven't set up the right tools in our industry to manage it, and that's why technology is, I think, also key in the future.
So it's about also transparency, collaboration, openness. And I would like to do, before I go to my next question, a poll here in the room again. You know, I like to involve the audience. Is how many of your organizations, the medical team is conducting, it's coming to capabilities, in-field coaching of the traditional medical rep focused on science? Is there any organization where medical affairs organization is doing in-field coaching with the reps to see how they're using the science in driving value for the drugs they're representing? I see no hands going up. Not yet. So what is your take on this? Could that be a lever to bring both closer together based on their specific area of expertise, or?
Depends on your size. It's always the question, what is the role and responsibility? But I like how you are thinking, because as we heard earlier in the session, coaching is key to develop the organization. And if a medical rep is coaching maybe the commercial part, not only on the slides, also in the field, it could help. And that's what we are seeing in launch periods. They are going in a tandem, talking about maybe the science topic and then the commercial part. It's very successful. But to realize it in reality, in PowerPoint, we can do always everything. But in reality, it's a question, how many field days, what is the right thing, how many people you have. That's always the key. And that's why I think we haven't seen a hand yet.
So someone else who wants to add something?
I'm super supportive. I think it will for sure help. I don't think if it will solve the issue, if it is a root case or is more of a symptom, right? So I think it is needed. We need to go that direction, but after some other steps have been taken. Again, we are, at least myself, I'm very, I wouldn't say happy yet, but hopeful on how we are approaching our key customers through an account planning process where all teams, medical, access, marketing, commercial, so on and so forth, all of them meet together, agree on common objectives for that account, for the key tactics, for the key customers, so on and so forth. That brings us to a different level of discussion. And when you are there, then we are ready for that.
I think medical affairs should be our third pillar, you know, because we talk sales, marketing. Now we are together, now it's commercial, right? But I think medical affairs could be the third pillar and should be involved more in the commercial part.
Yeah, I see a lot of analogies there with what we saw in the past between marketing and sales.
Right.
I still remember I had to chase the marketers out of the office to say, you go in the field with a rep to see to see the reality. What is a customer doing with what a rep is sharing from a material perspective, etc., rather than sitting in your ivory tower and talking with agencies. I see a bit of an analogy also here, which I hope also one day will be, and I see you're not agreeing, what is good?
Because I don't think that medical are in an ivory tower. Maybe they are secluded, that I can fully apprehend. But they are also meeting with clients, probably not having the same topics. So that's why I was not nodding.
Yeah, the ivory tower is an old-fashioned kind of saying. I know. I see that we are almost at the end of the time, but first of all, I would like to thank you for the sharing. And I think that we can agree and conclude that there is still a lot of way forward to further enhance the relationship between the different, let me say, functions within an organization in the interest of the holy patient and customer, because that's what we're talking about, customer experience. So thank you very much. And I don't know if there is time for a question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Carlos, MSL guy. So thank you for that discussion. I just want to highlight a few points. So recently, EPG Health made a survey with physicians, and we see that physicians prefer to interact with MSLs 84% versus sales reps 77%, and we see that declining year after year. And also there was a survey by the MSL Society in the US where 87% prefer MSLs versus 13% sales reps. And the main driver behind that is that they feel they get this non-biased information where they could really think of them as partners and get that credible information. So I do believe, medical still have a very important role to play in the field. And based on what I was sharing in terms of thinking beyond just the data sharing and going more into building the partnerships. Now, one thing, going back to the KPIs, I think the sales team are not more advanced, but they are in a better position because it's so easy to measure market share. IQVIA does that for you, and get your sales, and then boom, you have your KPIs. For medical, it's often frustrating because when I was an MSL, I would work with a hospital, we would develop a protocol, we would work on guidelines, and then sales would pick up. Sales rep gets a bonus, MSL doesn't get anything. Because you kind of associate all the sales to the sales reps, and then the MSL is just, okay, you did a good job. So I think maybe in the future, looking into measuring the impact of medical in medical terms, and not maybe having the exact short-term KPIs that sales have, but more how medical is building the future, ensuring successful launches, building the successful partnerships, that without them, the sales will just sit and say, why aren't we selling? Because no offense, I don't think it's the sales rep's visit that is doing the impact, but it's the data that is backing up the drug and the protocols and the guidelines and the reimbursement. These are playing the role, and it's not just our presence in the field. So just wanted to highlight that.
So thank you for that.
Completely agree.
I mean, always not an easy thing to do. Thank you. Any more questions? Or everyone is hungry?
Probably, yeah.
Then it's time for not for the Hunger Games, but for the lunch, I think. Yeah. Thank you.